Hi everybody, it's Mrs. Peachy from your WCA Earth Science class. And today we are going to be looking at a lab in Unit 6, Lesson 2, Interpreting Glacial Landscapes. This one can be kind of tricky, so I'm going to try to get through as much as I can in the time that I have, but one of the hardest parts about this lab is actually reading a topographic map and being able to find where all the features are on the topographic map. So what you'll notice is, first off, I do want you to go ahead on slide 1 here. It says click and print, interpreting a glacial landscape instructional document. Something I do want you to actually do, I'm going to kind of move this aside because I already have that open here. And one of the things you're going to be asked to do is to make a vertical profile of the valley here. A vertical profile would be, if you were to see it from the side, what would it look like? Think of it as a cross section. So right now a topographic map is if you were flying up in the air and looking straight down, that's what it would look like. But if you are viewing it from the side, it'll kind of give you an idea of how elevation changes throughout the valley. Now they've given you a number of different data points here, and they've actually started the graph for you. So all you really need to do is finish this graph. You can see here they start with 11,300. That's this first data point right there. Second data point of 10,500. That's the second data point. So pretty easy so far, right? You just need to finish this up and put in the last 3 data points so you get a good view of the side of this valley. And really what it's going to make you do is observe that it is actually a U-shaped valley, which is indicative of glaciers. V-shaped valleys were cut by rivers. U-shaped valleys were cut by glaciers. That doesn't mean that there is no river there. As you can see, there is a river that runs right through the valley, because even though a valley was initially cut by the glacier, once the glacier retreated and melted, now there lies a river where the glacier used to be. This is especially true with alpine glaciers, those that are in the mountains. So the pages you'll need from your textbook are pages 210 and 211 here. Okay. And again, this is the same kind of graph that they showed you before, but it's not partially done for you. And then as I scroll down here, it's going to kind of tell you your, it's going to tell you kind of the details of this contour. It's going to ask you to, well, this is your topographic profile. Okay, I was basically just going to ask you to identify different glacial features on the topographic map. And that's actually pretty hard. So that's why I wanted to make sure I went through this with you. Here's the map, and you can see that the features have been labeled A, B, C, D, and E. But that's about all you can see here. Now with a topographic map, and this is such a small map, you'll notice that there are lines that run parallel to one another. Where the lines are more tightly spaced, the elevation is steeper. So you're going to have a steeper slope. Where they're more widely spaced, the elevation is more gradual. They follow regular intervals. I'm not sure what the contour interval is of this map. It says 50 feet, so every line, they drew a line every 50 feet to indicate elevation. And you can kind of see you're looking at a ridge here. This is like a mountain range. And this is the ridge of the mountain, and down below is the valley. Okay? So I would like to go through a few different contour map features. I will show you where you can find this document. Okay, so I'm going to be using a document here shortly, which you can find on my homepage, the Earth Science homepage. And as you scroll down under portfolios, you will see that there's the rubric for the portfolio here, which you do want to reference because that's going to tell you what needs to go in here. But then you're also going to notice that I have a larger view of the map. And when you click on that, this is going to open. And I don't even fit it all on my screen here. But this is the same map in greater detail. What I've done is I've taken my hardcover book, scanned it on a scanner, copy machine scanner, and actually blown it up a little bit so we can see more details. And I'm hoping this will help you to really be able to pinpoint some of those features. So you notice how D is pointing to these two small lakes, and C is pointing to the top of the ridge here. We can see how E is kind of pointing to that circular shapes right here and here. A, that is your contour profile. And E is pointing to this area that is just on the end of the river and is kind of damming in Turquoise Lake. So those are the features that you are going to have to identify. When you go back to my website again, another thing that is on here, I should say, is a PowerPoint with examples of glacial features. If I open that up, that's going to bring me to a Google slide presentation. And it's going to show me, let's see if I can kind of zoom out on this a little bit to make it smaller. There we go. It's going to kind of show me some different glacial features in here. I've kind of modified a PowerPoint that I found online. One thing that it tells you right off the bat is that a glacial valley is a U-shaped valley, because that's when the glacier actually makes the valley versus if the river was the thing that originally eroded the valley. So this is just showing you some examples of how U-shaped valleys look on the map. Another type of, a U-shaped valley. This is also a hanging valley, which comes up a little bit later here. A hanging valley is when you have kind of two glaciers meet at a perpendicular. And a lot of times what you'll find here is you'll find that, and I think the best picture I have actually was the one that I had previously. You'll see that this glacier here is meeting with this other branch of the glacier there. And this one was at a higher elevation, and it did not erode all the way down to the same elevation as the valley floor. So it left a valley that is hanging above the other valley. So that's considered a hanging valley. And this is what it would look like on a contour map. Notice the kind of the V here, which indicates the valley shape itself. Okay? This is the valley shape. Notice that this is pretty flat. It's at 100 meters, and then the elevation changes pretty rapidly up here. So that should indicate to you that there's a hanging valley. If you see that kind of V shape, and then you see the elevation changing pretty rapidly. Another thing is called a cirque. It's a bowl-shaped formed by glaciation. They can form into lakes, which we see here. But these are at the tops of mountains. So that's another thing to kind of note. These aren't the glaciers that are at the bottom of the glacial valley. These are kind of at the tops of the mountain. See that here? And you can see glacial lakes up there too. And I'm going to kind of go forward a little bit again because I have some more cirques here. Sometimes they don't actually form lakes. They just form kind of a rounded out area on the top of a mountain. And you can kind of see that here. Notice how rounded out that is? That's how the cirque would look on a topographic map. Another feature is just the very top of where that glacier would have formed. It kind of leaves a point at the very top, and that's called an arete. And this is a great aerial view right here of this. Quite frankly, I'm not sure if it's arete or arete. I don't pronounce that real well. You're going to find these in conjunction with cirques very much. So here, notice this is our cirque, and then the cirque is right next to the arete, right here. Okay, so that's kind of how you're going to judge which is which. Unlike the arete, which is the very top of the mountain itself, the horn is going to be a point where 3 or more walls are going to meet each other. Okay, so it's kind of like a pyramid in shape. These are some examples of horns here. You can see them up on top of here too. And here, notice this is the black line. This is the top, a glacial horn. Notice the pyramid kind of shape, almost triangular in shape. Okay, here's our Cirque. So we would probably find, we could find an arete at the top. Not necessarily, it kind of depends on if that has eroded away or not. And let's see, you'll also find a feature called a ribbon lake. Ribbon lakes are kind of as the name suggests. They're long, kind of narrow lakes. And they form in the, kind of along the path of the glacier. So the glacier is moving in this direction. It's where there's some differences in the hardness of the rock. So you find these kind of smaller lakes that kind of run perpendicular almost to the glacier itself. And finally, you will find a feature known as a moraine. Moraines can be, they can be lateral moraines, meaning that they're on the sides of the glacier, or they can be medial moraines where two glaciers meet and in the middle there's a bunch of stuff, or they can be end moraines, and an end moraine marks the end progress of the glacier. Think of a glacier kind of like a snowplow or a bulldozer, something like that. It's pushing, or even a broom for that matter, you're sweeping with a broom. You leave like this line of dirt behind, and that line of dirt as you push is considered, that's what the moraine is like. The glacier kind of just pushes everything out of its way and leaves a big wall of rock and debris, and that's considered the end moraine. As it's doing this, it's also digging up the sides and making like long lines of debris on the sides, and those are lateral moraines. And again, as it comes in, if you've got two branches on an alpine glacier that come down a mountain, where they meet in the middle is oftentimes a line of rock and sediment and stuff, and that's a medial moraine. So a lot of times, because the end moraines are kind of marking the end of the glacier's progress, the water as it flows down the mountain will stop at that end moraine, and it will act as a dam, and it will actually dam up the water. If you've ever been to Devil's Lake in Wisconsin, then you know, near the Baraboo area, then you would have seen a glacial lake that was formed by an end moraine there. All right, those are all the different glacial features that you would need to identify on your portfolio for this one. Okay, the other things you're going to be doing is just answering some follow-up questions. Okay, sorry about that. I got the... Okay, so really, these are just answering the questions, kind of goes along with identifying the areas. And then number 11, we kind of just went over, explain how turquoise lake form. So along with this, I will also be putting up a template, just like I did for your previous portfolios. So then all that you'll need to do for the template is just open it up. You can modify it, just fill in the sections, fill in the answers to the questions that you have, and you will be able to just save that and submit it through the Dropbox for this portfolio. If you have questions or concerns, feel free to give me a call at extension 2204 or send me a webmail message. Good luck, everybody, and have a great day.